Hey everyone, it's Professor Hatch. This is my third attempt at recording this video. I'm going to share my screen. Also, the sound on this is going to be crap. I just watched the first few seconds of the last video for the application of theory prompt, and it was echoey. There's nothing in here. There's no books. There's just nothing. Not even boxes, really. A few boxes behind me, but so this room is just a big echo chamber, and I apologize for that. Okay, so this is the outline assignment. You'll notice that unlike the previous outline, there's actually 4 body paragraphs. You only need the topic, sentence, context, evidence, and the transition for all of them, with the exception of the last body paragraph, which does not need a transition because you never need to transition when you are going into the concluding paragraph. Click on this link here and it takes you to the prompt for the full essay. And if you click on this link, there's the student outline template. Down here, this right here will be a link to a Word doc that I'm working on in the process of making this video. And obviously this video will be right there. So this is the essay prompt itself, which we don't need to look at right now, but just looking over here, this is the Literary Theory and Schools of Criticism page. And as you can see by looking at my outline, I've already downloaded the outline template and tweaked it to be what we need for this assignment. So, and I've already purposed my paragraph. So in the first one, I'm going to define with the literary theory I'm going to choose, which I decided for this video I'm choosing Marxism. And then the first text I'm looking at is The Kernel by Carolyn Forche, which is from the English 1B poetry packet from back in week 1. Body paragraph 3 is going to be the parable of the sower, and everyone has to write about parable. That's not a choice you get. And then finally, body paragraph 4, which I guess I should label body 4, is going to be about the chef, which is the second of those short science fiction videos from the prompt, the application of theory essay prompt. Okay, so, and I've already written topic sentences for a couple of these, and then my entire computer froze up, and I'm not going to redo that. But looking here at Marxist criticism on the literary theories page, if we go down to the typical questions asked when looking at a text through the lens of Marxist criticism, you are asking, whom does it benefit if the work or effort is accepted / successful / believed? Meaning the story itself or the poem. So if we're talking about the kernel, who benefits if the reader believes that what's being described in that poem is accurate? I'm not going to slowly talk about each of these questions, but that's what it's talking about there. What is the social class of the author? I don't claim to know, but I think it's a pretty safe bet, and by all means feel free to Google. Carolyn Forche, Octavia Butler, definitely upper middle class, possibly upper class. I don't know how wealthy they were. I know they were both wildly successful writers, but writing is hardly a path to wealth. Most writers are not Stephen King. Most writers have to support themselves through some sort of other job. I doubt they did. They were very, very successful writers. I don't even know who the authors of the science fiction short films are, so I'll leave that to you to do the research on if you choose to write about this particular thing. Which class does the work claim to represent? I would argue that all 3 of the texts that I've chosen for this example are representing the working class. What values does it reinforce? What values does it subvert? What conflict can be seen between the values the work champions and those it portrays? In other words, if we're talking about Parable of the Sower, what values is that work championing? What value does that text hold up as a good value, basically? just off the top of my head, I would argue that it is holding up the idea of resilience as a good thing. Lauren, the main character, is very resilient. She believes she has created a religion. Not created, she's discovered a religion, according to, in her words, she's discovered a religion that she calls Earthseed. And one of the basic tenets of that religion is that God is change. And that value is one of the things I think that gets her through that story alive. She is worried through the entire story of being sexually assaulted, killed, of starving. You know, there's all kinds of horrifying real world concerns in this book. So I would argue that resilience is one of the values maybe that is being portrayed by this book. And then what are the values that it is that the book portrays? And I'll leave that for you to debate. What social classes do the characters represent? I'm going to go ahead and just say working class in all three of the texts that I have chosen. And then how do characters from different classes interact or conflict? Going back once again to Parable of the Sower, I would argue that at the beginning, like the first third or first half of chapter 18, there's a whole discussion between Lauren and maybe Travis, I can't remember, but it's basically sort of an extended discussion of slavery. They're not talking about historical slavery, they're talking about what's going on in the right here and now within the reality of the novel, but it is very clearly likened to slavery. Not even likened, it's specifically said, it's specifically saying that what's going on is slavery. So anyway, those are the questions. You don't have to answer all of these questions, obviously. Just, use these as a guide when you are looking at these various texts to discuss, if you are choosing to use Marxism. So anyway, back to the assignment. For the first body paragraph I've chosen, and this is the prompt says to do this as well. In fact, let's just real quick, since it's easy to do. Here is my suggestion in the prompt. Define theory, text 1, text 2, text 3. Those are your 4 body paragraphs. So, in the first body paragraph, I'm going to define Marxism. In the second body paragraph, I'm going to talk about the kernel. The third, I'm talking about Parable of the Sower. And in the fourth, I'm talking about The Chef, which is that second of those short sci-fi films that I included with the essay prompt. Those sci-fi films will also be discussion board assignments. They have not yet been assigned to you by the week 8, which I think is when you are looking at these videos, and that's when the outline is going to be assigned. But they will be in weeks 9 and 10. So, in any case, I'm also, unlike the previous outline video, I'm not going to be too specific with this one, because I am encouraging you, like if you watch this video and you think, you know what, Marxism is exactly the lens I want to use, that's the literary theory I want to use, and then you decide I want to use these 3 texts or whatever, that's great. I encourage you to, just because I picked these things for this example doesn't mean you shouldn't feel free to write about them, or that you shouldn't feel free to write about Marxist theory. But I'm going to keep my examples a little bit vague, just because I don't want to do your work for you. But anyway, Marxist criticism is a tool for looking at a text through the eyes of the struggling working class. That's the first. That is the first sentence I made. I have no idea why I put it in all caps. I'll probably correct that before I upload this. I'm writing all of the topic sentences before anything else. So the topic sentence I came up with for the kernel was, from a Marxist perspective, the kernel can be seen to be the struggle between one man in power and the people he is oppressing. And then, this is where my computer froze. Let's see, Parable of the Sower. I'm going to go ahead and put that in italics. Parable of the Sower is a story about everyday people struggling to live in a world where unregulated capitalism has run wild. Capitalism maybe should be capitalized, but hey, whatever. And again, it's the final draft of your essay that's supposed to be good. The rough draft is supposed to be shitty, and this is an outline which is supposed to suck even more. That's perfectly fine. So, that's your topic sentence for Parable of the Sower. And then for the chef, let's see. The chef, Parable of the Sower is a book title, and book and film titles are in italics. Shorter works like poems and short films, those titles are put in quotation marks. So The Chef is a short film about kitchen workers being replaced by, I don't know, automated chefs in the form of a robot. Being replaced by an automated chef, singular, in the form of a robot. Okay. So there's my topic sentence for The Chef. So these are all three of the texts. And with this, and because I've already chosen Marxism, I'm going to just do the thesis statement real quick. The poem, The Kernel, I hate that spelling, but that's how it's spelled. Let's see, The Kernel, the novel Parable of the Sower, and the short film, there should be quotes, The Chef, can all be viewed through the lens of Marxist criticism. There's my thesis statement. As with almost every thesis statement in almost every essay I assign, you come up with the topic sentences for your body paragraphs first, and once you have those, then you can build your thesis statement. The only thing that you need to do before the topic sentences is deciding what your paragraphs are going to be about, which is what I decided when I chose Marxism and then those three texts. So you already know how to find a quote. You've already done your first essay. I'm not going to find a quote because that's just going to be boring as hell, and you already know how to do that. I will say context, just as a reminder, context is basically introducing the quote that you are going to be using. So, hypothetically here, let's look at the kernel. Context. In the poem, comma, the speaker, and then in parentheses, presumably, Portia herself, is interviewing the leader of an unnamed, let's see, South American country. And he clearly disrespects the idea of individual rights. The idea, he clearly disrespects the individual, Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. Individual, right? He clearly disrespects the individual rights of his citizens. There. That was like pulling teeth. I apologize. In any case, that's me just setting up the quote. And then I would probably pull, for my quote, I would take the line from that poem where he says, as for the rights of anyone, tell your people they can go fuck themselves, or whatever he actually says there. That's a paraphrase. It's pretty close to the actual line, though. So that would be the quote I would use. This would be my context setting it up. And then for the transition, and I'm only going to do one of these because A, you really probably already know how to do this, and B, you only need one example, and C, I want to keep this video short. So the transition, the formula for the transition is always in addition to X, also Y, which I'm actually in addition to X, also Y. That is the formula, right? So, and I'm going to delete that in a second, but in addition to the kernel, one can also see the basic ideas of Marxist criticism in, let's see, Octavia Butler's novel, let's see, whoa, don't know what the hell happened there. Parable of the Sower. Apparently I hit Control P, which is the shortcut for print. Anyway, in addition to the kernel, one can also see the basic ideas of Marxist criticism in Octavia Butler's novel, Parable of the Sower. There's already in my head a better way to phrase this, but again, this is a outline. It doesn't have to be great. So you can see, in addition to the kernel, also Parable of the Sower. In addition to X, also Y. That's the formula. So I'm going to just leave that as is. So that's what you need to do, and then obviously you need your evidence. But again, I'm going to let you guys do that, and I'm going to let you guys come up with your own topic sentences. I don't want to do all of these. Well, I've done all the topic sentences, but I'm going to let you guys come up with your own context and transition. I don't want to do too much of this for you because that's not the point. The point is to have you guys like solidify all these concepts by actually writing about them. Anyway, that's this exercise concluded. I'm going to fix this after I stop recording. I don't think there's anything left to say, so I'm looking at the camera so that I can be making eye contact. As always, text me on Remind 24/7, anytime, day or night. I will get back to you if I'm awake, and if I'm not, I'll get back to you when I am. Also, I just want to say, I am, Monday through Thursday, spending 2 hours getting hyperbaric oxygen therapy for a wound on my foot, which realistically turns into roughly 4 hours that I'm unavailable because I'm driving or lying in this stupid oxygen chamber or whatever. So it sometimes will take me a little longer to get back to you during the day, but I will get back to you. All right, that's everything I needed to say, probably more than I needed to say. If you have questions, text me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.